This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast. Joe Rimmer here to talk about a cracking weekend. I'm joined by two very happy gentlemen and Ian Doyle. It's been a great weekend. Connor Dunn, how are you?
Extremely happy, Joe. How are you?
I'm very happy as well. Ian Doyle, how are you?
Resolute.
As always. Full-time Liverpool reporter both home and away. Paul Gorst, how are you?
Very well. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start with you, Paul, because I'm going to ask you, was that the best Premier League weekend ever?
I mean, I'm struggling to remember one as memorable and as one where when all the results are in and they're done and dusted, you're thinking about Liverpool have done well here, because you know all Liverpool have to do this season, and I've written a little thing about it today, is keep an eye on Manchester City. Everything else is basically just background noise to them, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter how Manchester United get on, Arsenal, Chelsea, none of them are really going to threaten them. It's only City. So it doesn't matter what happens, but it also helps when Liverpool win and United are getting beat at Newcastle. Fans have been made up seeing Everton lose. And then obviously the big one was Manchester City going hosting Wolves in a game that you thought would be tricky for them, but you'd expect them to win and to get beat. So as far as it goes, I'm struggling to think of a better one. I know me and Doyle will probably remember something before my time, but
yeah, I said Premier League though.
Yeah, you can change the question. That wasn't what the question was at the start, was it? When we were discussing this before, because you knew what was coming.
Little asterisks there. You should have read the small print.
Yeah, but
so
the small print wasn't there.
Is it the best Premier League weekend ever, Ian Doyle?
I don't know.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt. That's more like it. Well,
go on. What a weekend.
What a weekend.
Liverpool
Sunday.
win. 8-point gap, Sunday. City lose to Wolves, a tired Wolves side you expect them to beat. Everton are in the relegation zone. Man United are floundering somewhere in the bottom half.
Wow,
what more could you want?
There, yeah.
Literally, what more could you want?
We're only 8 games in. Don't get
we didn't ask about that.
We didn't ask about that.
We just said, what a weekend.
Single
hang
weekend.
on. Yeah, hang on. Well, if it's 2 games to go and they're 8 points clear because of that, then yeah, that would be the best weekend ever because they've just won the league.
But we're talking specific. Yeah.
Okay, you see, I'm talking. Okay, I'm going to say the best weekend is still to come.
Well, that's a good
fine.
answer. I like that answer.
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
I know. That's why I said it
so far.
So let's talk 8 points. It was a bloody good weekend, though. I mean, Man United. It was the cherry on.
I think
the
I saw
cake,
people on social media like going crazy about it, saying like, town, etc., etc. This is the best weekend ever, and it's like, well, hang on, you won the Champions League on a Saturday. That was only a couple of months ago. That was the best weekend ever.
So you didn't go to town? Did you not wander into St Helens?
I did go to the pub, to be fair, after I'd finished work. I went to the 23s, which we'll talk about later on. So yeah, I did end up going to the pub.
So you did go to town, because that is St Helens.
That is town for me, yeah. I did, it is only about 2 minutes away, so.
Ian Doyle
Can
went to town.
Doyle went to town.
Anyway, yeah.
Good weekend.
I didn't stop. Yeah, ask you a question.
Me and Connor went to town, didn't we?
We did went to town. Yeah.
Separately, but we were there.
We were in town.
Joe, did you go?
No. This is very sad. Just check to see if I got any invites. No.
Even O'Neill went to town.
You haven't been well, though, have you, Joseph?
I haven't been well.
To be fair.
To be fair. I feel better now. A bit croaky, though. Croaky, as you could probably tell. 8 points, Connor. 8 points. I know it's only October, but considering last season was so closely contested, 8 points is a massive gap at any stage of the season between these two sides, aren't they?
It feels big, doesn't it? I think the win against Leicester felt big. I think the fact that City then lost, I think it feels like a really defining weekend. It's really early to talk about it, I know, but Liverpool never had as big a gap as that last season. And I think in reality, it is theirs to lose, isn't it now? And it's so early to say, but they put up such a relentless pace already. You don't really feel like many teams are going to beat them in the league. And with that gap, it gives them a bit of breathing room. And yeah, it just to me just feels like a really important, weekend, important win, important 8 points.
Dory, could it be more than the points and a psychological thing that Liverpool could hand Liverpool the advantage now?
I mean, the interesting thing is what happened last season means that Liverpool will be better placed to handle being this far ahead, I think. Some of the stuff that Klopp said after the game, some of the stuff that I read this about the Liverpool game against Leicester, he was the kind of the suggestion is Liverpool have stumbled through the last week. 1-0 against Sheffield United because keeper drops one in.
Yeah.
Lose a 3-0 lead against Salzburg and then a last-minute penalty. Some people believe it wasn't. I believe it clearly was to win against Leicester. But Klopp said, well, winning 8 games in a row at the start of a season is not easy. Otherwise, everybody would do it. And next to nobody does it. Hardly anybody's won 17 games in a row, top flight games in a row, because it's hard. And you've got to have these games. And I think for Liverpool to do that and get themselves into this position, I think you can lose the title in the first 8 games, but you can't win it. But Liverpool have given themselves a great chance, because they could conceivably lose the next 2 games, and then as long as they don't lose to Man City in the game before the next international break, they'd still be top. That's how far ahead that they are.
If you were looking at this the other way around, and City won 8 out of 8 and Liverpool lost 2 at 8 points behind at this point, we'd all be sitting here thinking, oh well, it's another season where it's going to probably go to City then, isn't it? But that's why I'm so chirpy right now.
I think that's also because of what City have done in the past. And I think the thing is, Liverpool last season got 97 points.
Exactly.
So they're doing it again. And I think City did do it for 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. I think we all have spoken and said that we didn't expect either City or Liverpool to get close to the points total that they got last season. I think everybody knows that was just insane. But Liverpool are doing it again. I mean, some of the other stuff that was written was like, oh, Liverpool look as though, this run can't go on forever. It's like, well, really? No, of course it won't go on forever. Yeah. The thing is, we've spoken about this again in the podcast. What's going to happen is they will lose a game sooner rather than later, or draw. And you've seen what's happened when City lost to Norwich, when City drew with Tottenham, when City just got beat by, I've forgotten already, Wolves. Wolves, yeah, to give them the proper name. Everyone thinks, oh, that's it. City have dropped. That's 8 points, is it now? Yeah. 8 points. It must be because they're 8 points behind Liverpool. Yeah. 100% record. Yeah, well worked out by me. So they've dropped 8 points already. That's a lot to make up. But the massive asterisk is the fact that it's only 8 games in. Although at this rate, it doesn't mean Liverpool will win the league by 38 points.
What I would say though is Liverpool only dropped 17 points last season, and for City to claw back that 8 points advantage, that's nearly half of what Liverpool lost last season just to get to level. So it's a massive task for City. They're good enough to do it, but what they now need is Liverpool to lose essentially 3 games when they only lost 1 last season, or draw a stack load of them, which I don't really think Liverpool will do this season either, because they're just so far ahead of pretty much every other team apart from City. So it's as Connor says, if you're flipping it the other way around and Liverpool were looking up at City at 8 points, we'd all be sitting here and thinking, oh well, second is probably the best Liverpool can hope for now. So it's a massive gap already.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, let's look at the Leicester game in a bit more detail. I suppose, as usual, everyone could say lucky Liverpool, but are they lucky? I mean, surely you make your own luck when you win this many games, and Liverpool had far the better chances. They were a little bit unlucky that they missed some. So what do you think? Yeah,
absolutely. I think the fact that it was won on a last-minute penalty is overlooking the fact that Liverpool were a much better side for massive parts of that game. And again, as you say, I think Klopp's spoken about this as well. You make your own luck. The fact that Liverpool push every single minute to score, to win, is the reason why they're winning these games. And it's quite literally as simple as that. If they're taking these shots, they're taking these chances, they're fighting, every tooth and nail until the final whistle, which as you should do, but teams don't, do they? And that's why they're getting these, clinching victories in the final moments in these last few games. But yeah, I just don't think it's luck. I just don't think it's luck in any way, really. I mean, obviously, Henderson dropped that against Sheffield United, but then Mane and Salah missed chances they easily tuck away on other days. So you look at it in both ways, really. They've been unlucky and lucky in these games. So I just think, the fact that they find a way to win is more the testament of the luck.
Yeah.
Nothing about, I know we're going to talk about the penalty, we'll just address it now. Nothing about the penalty is lucky. Nothing. From winning it to the way it was scored. Because the reason Liverpool get the penalty is because Origi is pushing forward. Yeah. Albrighton has to come back.
He's done well, Origi, recently, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, when he's come on. So Albrighton has to go back, and then Albrighton has a mild panic when Schmeichel can pick it up, because Mane's chasing. And then, of course, Mane then gets there, and Albrighton then kicks him in the back of the leg. And Mane
he stands
down.
On his foot, doesn't he?
Well, it's still a penalty. At the time, when me and Gorst were there, we just went, oh, penalty, and referee gave it, and he was never going to get it overturned. And then he comes to the person who's taking it, which is Milner, who had a very good game. And I know before the game there were some fans when they saw Milner and Lovren in the starting lineup were going, well, I'm not watching now, etc., which is just stupid. And Milner has got the character, the experience to put it into the score past Schmeichel sending the wrong way, and Milner's done this, what was it, last season at Fulham, scored a late penalty. I think it was Swansea, was it? There was one of the year where he scored a late penalty, so he puts them, it's not lucky that Origi's pushing forward in the last minute, it's not lucky that Mane's chasing a lost cause, it's not lucky that Milner scores the penalty. That's years and years and years of practice and belief and this whole thing of Liverpool knowing we can play to the fact. Because after Leicester equalised, Leicester never looked like they were ever going to score. It only looked like Liverpool might score. And they had the chance. What was it? Van Dijk's header, Lovren header. They could have done it. They did do it. Not lucky at all.
Gorsty, for me, someone who grew up in the 90s, and you grew up in the 90s as well, it was something that United used to do every week. You would see them attack a team wave after wave after wave, and eventually, like Connor said, they would put so much pressure on that someone would make a mistake, to be a penalty, a deflection, or whatever it might be. Is there something United-esque about Liverpool at the moment in the way that they're attacking?
Yeah, it's. It's not down to football ability, but there's something about this Liverpool team that just makes them so strong, and they can respond to setbacks because they don't have it their own way. Very, very rarely. If you look at it, pretty much every game over the last few weeks, Chelsea had a little spell and fought back, didn't they, and come into the game, and Salzburg were fantastic the other night, and Leicester responded, and Sheffield United had a go as well, and every time Liverpool just seemed to dig deep and just pull something out, and they were doing it loads of games last season as well. I think in Newcastle, obviously Barcelona, they were up against it in the last few weeks of the season. Just seems that every game Liverpool have to find a way to respond and dig deep, and they do it. And that's more than just being good at football. That's something about the psyche of the team, about the personality of the players. And I think that they're all of a similar mind, and they know now that when things do go against them for whatever reason, they are able to respond, and it's they can basically churn out a win, and it's looking like that they're not going to get it, because even on Saturday with 2 minutes to go, I was still thinking that Liverpool were going to win it, just because it's just been so ingrained in them for so long now that it's going to take an awful lot for them to lose, essentially, or to even drop a point.
I think that is probably what seems like the main difference between Liverpool and City right now, doesn't it? Because for massive parts of last season, teams would turn up in games against City and not hand the win. I'm not even necessarily suggesting that, but it just seemed that they would score so early in the game and just play, and you just think, oh, well, that's game over. And for 85 minutes, they're absolutely just knocking the ball around, and they're not back against the wall. And when it comes to knockout football, Champions League style, they get found out a little bit because teams have to go and score against them. And I think that is where Liverpool just have a slight edge this season, because they got used to it last season, and now they are really they can find a way to fight back in every single game if they need to. That's
a very good point. Man City aren't necessarily battle hardened, are they? Whereas Liverpool are. Mm-hmm. I was going to actually just beat me to saying that. I think I don't have a problem. I don't think City will have a problem psychologically, because they had that spell, didn't they?
Yeah.
Over Christmas, where they lost a few games, and they ended up winning, what was it, 15 or whatever it was in a row to go on and win the league. So I don't think that's what is going to change because of what's happened to City at the start of the season. The change is going to be from the other teams turning up. Because, City will have games where they roll people over like Watford 57-0 like they normally do. Yeah, that's going to happen because they're a very good team. They've got very good players. And they'll go somewhere and they'll win 4 or 5-0 like they did with West Ham at the start of the season. That will happen. That's the way that they play the game. When they get in a groove, practically no one's going to stop them. Liverpool know this. They got beat 5-0, didn't they, the other year when they were down to 10 men. But the other teams are going to start turning up and go, well, hang on, perhaps these aren't quite as invincible as they were. And it's because of the Norwich win, because of what happened against Tottenham a little bit, because Tottenham also did it in the Champions League, didn't they, last season? And also it's because they got a couple of injuries. Certainly, Kompany's gone. Laporte's injured. Yeah. Otamendi, who's good in a defence that's set up to help him out, but when
did you see when
I know when City, but then that's it, isn't it? Because City was so attacking. Another day, City could have won that game easy.
Of course, yeah.
But then Wolves could turn around and say we should have had a penalty first half. We had a couple of good chances. City looked like they, I wouldn't say got away with it, but they'd kind of ridden that particular storm. But Liverpool, the game will come soon, as we said before. Where Liverpool will lose, it's what happens after that will determine just how far into the season this goes for the title challenge.
Okay, let's talk about the penalty. Doyle, we'll stay with you because we know how you feel about it. So tell us why you are so sure that was a penalty.
Because he fouled him and he kicked
him. That's a good answer.
And you can slow it down all you want, but it was all in real time. It was like a panicky thing. And the one thing for me is Albrighton doesn't complain. He just stands there, whatever, and just goes, oh no, he knows what he's done. He knows he's made contact, and he knows that sometimes you get away with that in the area. But this time, Mane felt it, and whether he went down in instalments or not, I don't know. I certainly don't think he was quite as injured as he was making out on the pitch. But there's been loads of times where Liverpool haven't Liverpool haven't got penalties for not going down when they could have done. I think the guys on Match of the Day, we don't normally pick out people who pundits and whatever have you, but I thought Danny Murphy and Alan Shearer were they were far too like, it's definitely not a penalty. I mean, they should know better. I mean, Shearer's won penalties for less.
Yeah.
Murphy's converted penalties for lesser fouls. I think it is a foul. It'd be interesting if that happened at the 63rd minute. I don't think they'd have been saying it wasn't a penalty. I think it's because of the timing that it was as well. And I think did that have an effect on Man City going into the game on Sunday? I don't know. Because you can imagine if the way around, and Liverpool were due to play Wolves at home. Not an easy game. Wolves are good defensively. They showed last season. It may not have started the season great, but they're watching at home on Soccer Saturday or whatever, and then think, they're going to, and then they score in the last minute. I don't know whether that's had an effect. So
that moment when it goes to Stelling and he says there's a goal at Anfield, and there's that little brief pause, and they think, oh no, have Leicester won it? And then
but there is that.
I totally agree with you there, Doyle. I think going so close to Liverpool dropping points, finally they would have been delighted, and they would have looked at that Wolves game with a huge chance to reduce it to what would it have been? So 6, yeah. So that would have been huge for them, and then they know that they've got to go and beat Wolves just to get it back to 5 before the international break. And I think that's just heaved so much pressure back onto them at a time when they're without one or two of their star men. And Wolves were fantastic. They executed their game plan superbly. Adama Traore, of all people, was so calm in front of goal. He's not normally known for that. He's plenty of pace and power, but not a lot finesse, and he took both goals superbly, and it was a great result for them, and an even better one for Liverpool. And what a weekend, as we've already discussed.
Was it a penalty?
It was a penalty, yeah. I thought at the time, we couldn't really tell at the time, but we get a little monitor at Anfield in the press box, and me and Doyle immediately looked at it, and it was up close, and thought it was a penalty. I tweeted out at the time, VAR are checking it, but I've seen it replay, and it's a penalty, and luckily Chris Kavanagh's decision wasn't overturned. Thought Mane got stood on, went down a little bit theatrically, but you're going to, aren't you? When you're trying to desperately win a game and you get stood on, penalty, all day.
Got it.
Yeah, so I don't think any Liverpool fan is going to argue with you that it's not a penalty. It's tricky because you can see both sides of the argument a little bit. If that's given against you, I think you're fuming because it's because I think of the way Mane goes down, but Albrighton in no way should be kicking out his leg there. He shouldn't. He's made a mistake, and that is your point, isn't it? The fact that Liverpool have pushed so much, you force someone to make a mistake. You force someone to try and make a tackle that he's slightly behind him. He's in the wrong place. He's made a mistake, and in that respect, it's a penalty, isn't it?
It's all in the same movement, isn't it? Because he's the one that, as I say, gets the ball off Origi, chases it down and he's just got a little bit carried away.
And I think if he doesn't stand on Mane's foot and disrupt his movement, well, Schmeichel's out of his goal there, isn't he? So there's every chance Mane pulls that back to. I think Lallana was stood in a good position, and Liverpool score. So I thought it was a penalty as well. If it was given against Liverpool, I would say it wasn't a penalty. But
then it comes down to individuals, because what about with Lovren on Calvert-Lewin?
Never a penalty.
Right, it's never a penalty.
That was a penalty.
It's never a penalty, but everyone goes, "Oh, why did he give him the opportunity to do that?"
Isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what's happened there, and that is why Albrighton, who I always did say to Connor at half time when he came on, said he's going to be the game changer, which he was. That's why he wasn't.
Classic Ian Doyle prediction.
That's why what he thought was going to happen.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah. That's why he didn't argue, because he knew what he'd done. That's football. Get on with it.
Did the whole penalty debate overshadow what was a better Liverpool performance than people are giving them credit for?
Yeah, I thought Liverpool were very good in the first 60 minutes.
They started was right, didn't they?
Yeah, bear in mind Leicester. We did the pod, didn't we? And I thought, was it you that said it's going to be about 5-4 or something?
3-2. I said it'd be a wild game, which it was for the last 5 minutes.
But
I said it would be 2-1.
Leicester played the way old Leicester played, as opposed to, what I mean? People thought, it's Brendan Rodgers, they're going to be like Liverpool were. And if you actually, they beat Newcastle 5-0, but Newcastle were down to 10. But the rest of their games have been really close. What was it? 1-1 at Chelsea, got beat 1-0 at United, 2-1 win against against Tottenham, sorry. Everybody beats Tottenham these days. So it was going to be a lot closer. And I spoke to some people after the game, and they said they were disappointed with the way Leicester played, because they were expecting it to be the way you were, where they'd be attack this, that and the other. Thought Liverpool did very well against Vardy. He just had the one chance, didn't he? Where Adrian got away with it, but he hesitated, didn't he, before coming out, and then ended up tackling him, which was unusual. And I think Yeah, it was a good performance against a team who I genuinely do think could make the top 4.
Connor, Leicester's Turkish defender.
Songuku.
Yeah, whose name I can't pronounce. Who seems to be a good player. Tweeted afterwards that Leicester lost the game, but they won something more. What more did they win?
You tell me. 'Cause I don't know.
I think they won the belief that they can go to the European champions and actually nearly get something.
I thought you meant... Oh, I haven't seen his tweet. I thought you meant something else. I thought he tweeted something.
That's what he said.
Right.
That's what he said. He said, we won something else. No,
Yeah.
we won something else. What is it?
Yeah. Well, it's got to be belief, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's, going to a team that's unbeaten in the Premier League, going to a team that's holders of the European Cup, really solid unit, hasn't lost a game. They've turned up. And Leicester looked good for parts as well, as we knew they would do, to be fair. They're a really solid unit at the back. There's some really talented players going forward. And I think, as Doyle said, they'll do super well this season.
He was very good, the centre-back. He was very good, yeah.
Didn't expect such a serious answer to that question. I just thought we would all laugh and move on. Very nice.
You've misjudged this move completely, haven't you?
Yeah. I didn't think Leicester were as good as I think they had a couple of decent chances, but I think they had 2 shots in the whole game.
Just because the
18.
team doesn't have lots of shots doesn't mean they're not a good team.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they weren't a good team. I said I don't think they were as good as anyone made out, because I think afterwards the prevailing thought was that they deserved a draw, and I don't think they deserved a draw at all.
No, I thought Liverpool defended very well, actually, particularly Doyle and Connor, who was making his first start since May. I thought he come in and he was excellent on his return, and what could have been a tricky day for him up against Vardy. Van Dijk was Van Dijk. He thought he was excellent. He's just playing his own game, isn't he, now? Like, there was one where normal defenders would just header clear, but there's a ball over the top and he comes out to meet it and plays a through ball with his head to Alexander-Arnold down the right. Just plays his own game.
Van Dijk being Van Dijk is a good description.
Do you not think he was slightly at fault for the goal?
I thought he was,
Yes,
I thought Fabinho was as well.
Yeah,
Fabinho was a little bit,
yeah.
That same thing happened to Chelsea, didn't it, where Kante just kind of skipped away from him, but those things happen. I thought maybe Adrian could have saved it, but generally I thought Liverpool defended well. Didn't allow Vardy any space in behind, because that's what his game's all about, isn't it? Running the channels and chasing after it. So thought they limited Leicester quite well, really, because Leicester are a decent team. I don't agree with Doyle. Don't think they'll finish in the top 4 or will push for it, but they'll certainly have a shot at finishing 6th, I think. I think they're probably
going to finish above United, surely.
Yeah. Before the season started, I'd have said they were the 7th best team. United are in free fall, aren't they? They could easily get in ahead of them.
Were we all happy to see Brendan again?
Yeah.
What was he like in his press conference?
I wasn't there. You were there?
I also was not there for that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Right.
I was doing Klopp's Mondays.
Oh, right, okay.
Although we did walk past and shake the hand of all the journalists who we recognised from when he worked for Liverpool, so that was a nice touch, I thought.
From what I saw on Twitter, it was a bit classic Brendan, defending his players as you'd expect him to, talking about the incidents for Leicester as you'd expect him to. Kind of no love lost, really, and fair play. He's a decent manager, isn't he? So you wouldn't really expect anything else.
He was also desperate not to use the word character
in
any of his interviews. Yeah.
He was a great technician.
Yeah. Wonderful technician.
Wonderful
great,
technician.
Great human being. Real man strength, warrior spirit. I can just go through them all.
Tell you as real man strength, warrior spirit. He's a great technician.
Can he smell
he's
the
a
mints?
Great character. I don't know what that is, but yeah, James Milner.
Yes.
Let's talk about James Milner then.
Please and thank
Colin,
you.
Let's segue that.
We'll start over there with you. James Milner was very, very good, wasn't he?
He was very, very good, and I was actually going to mention what Doyle said not very long ago, just about how there was some question marks before the game about Milner and Lovren being in there, but I think Milner over the past couple of games has proved the real point, hasn't he? Led the youngsters against MK Dons Saturday, got a goal and an assist.
Yeah.
Put the penalty away so superbly. That ball for Mane is absolutely ridiculous, and I think he's proved he's got a real part to play in. I don't think Liverpool were ever in any doubt of that, but I think he's proved it to a lot of the fans who maybe had a slight question mark over him. And I don't know if maybe those question marks have perhaps come over the fact that Liverpool haven't given him a new contract yet, but surely it's got to be a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah, league wins are about characters, aren't they, Doyle? And he is one, isn't he?
And he's also a league winner.
Yeah.
Won it twice with City, so he knows what to do. And I don't think there's any of the other players who've won, certainly not won the Premier League title. So he knows what it takes. Klopp loves him. Klopp's always said that as long as he's in charge, he'd quite happily have Milner in his squad. I think Milner's just like this is the same thing for now. The last 2 or 3 years, everyone expects him to be eased out. But because of the way he plays and the fact that Klopp can trust him, he won't be brilliant every single game, but he's never ever been like that. But he'll always be solid. And it wasn't just the penalty and the assist on Saturday. There was a moment in the second half, which I know Gorst agrees with me on this. he just raced out on midfield and tackled Maddison. It was at a time when Liverpool, I can't remember whether it was Leicester were just starting to build up some momentum or they'd just scored. He just went straight through him, and Liverpool put Liverpool on an attack, and the crowd absolutely loved it. And I think the crowd appreciates stuff like that. I think he's gone from, I think he's never not been popular, but I think the people who, I'm trying to word this correctly, but I'm just going to come out and say it, the people who don't go to the games or don't pay particular attention to what's going on the pitch and just watch the highlights might not always appreciate what somebody like James Milner does. And certainly the people who don't see him around training, don't see him around the place, the example he sets for other players, certainly the youngsters, I'm sure the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and people like that will learn from just having James Milner around the place because of who he is and his ability to drink Ribena.
Klopp says that Milner says things in the change room that he can't say, doesn't he? That he gives some bits and team talks that maybe perhaps Klopp can't do. So he just gives you something else. He's got so much experience, which obviously you can't teach, and so much know-how to win games, and that's obviously so vital.
Question for you. James Milner will be a great at many of the clubs that he's played at, but will he now go down as a Liverpool legend?
We had this debate, didn't we? He's certainly the best free signing they've ever had.
Champions League winner?
Yeah, Champions League winner. Who had a hand in the second goal. Of course, he will.
Yes.
He'll be a legend. He'll always be a legend.
Yeah. That penalty at the end, Gorst, after the long wait with VAR and everything now, that makes a last-minute penalty is nerve-wracking enough, but with that long wait, I mean, nerves of steel, as Vince McMahon used to say, grapefruits. He has them, hasn't he?
That's a very niche reference, though, very well aimed as well.
It's not that niche. No, I think a lot of listeners will know what you're talking about. Brilliant.
Do you want to explain what I'm talking about?
Grapefruits. Well, that's a metaphor for
Cojones.
Yes, cojones. Yes.
Which cojones is a metaphor for
balls.
Just trying to put Gorsty on the spot here.
I'm trying to rescue my colleague out of a difficult situation.
We talk a lot of balls on the show.
You were trying to set him up there, Joe. You should know better.
He wants the clip for YouTube, doesn't he? What have we
we've now got it.
James Milner, fantastic. Offer him the contract. Offer him what he wants.
Put it on the table.
Yes.
Put it on the table.
What he wants. All the money he wants.
James Milner's back, man.
So much experience.
Milner's
so
on the
much.
wheel.
But you know what? It's not only the fact that he's played loads of games and he's been around for years. He's still a quality footballer. That pass he played for the assist was unbelievable with his weaker left foot, and it just arched away from Johnny Evans, and he was at full stretch and still couldn't get it, and Mane goes clean through. It was fantastic, and he was great at MK Dons. He got lashed in at left back, which he hasn't played for 2 seasons. Could have easily have thrown it in that night, but can't really be fussed here. But he was never going to be that type of player, and he's popped up with an assist and a goal. Helped out the likes of Harvey Elliott and Keanu Hoover and whoever else through what could have been a difficult night. So important to Liverpool off the field, and it's just continuing to show that he's just as important on it. I agree with Doyle. Sometimes people might criticise him or whatever, but maybe it is people aren't seeing what he does throughout the whole game. Such an important member of the squad, and he can play in loads of positions as well, so give him another year. Deserves it. He's the fittest player in the squad, and he's the most experienced, and he's the only one who's won a Premier League title. Okay,
another man who returns to the team then, we've touched on him already, Dejan Lovren. Connor, really impressive display from Dejan Lovren. Tough, Joe Gomez came in and found it tough on Wednesday night, coming in from the cold, and Lovren then came in, but he was solid, wasn't he?
Yeah, I thought he played really well, actually. There was some interesting moments in the first half where he was in tricky situations. I think he had a diving header, cleared himself over Liverpool's bar, but it's a really decent, diving head. And he, again, as we discussed and touched on, he didn't let Vardy have any space in behind him. I thought he marked him really well. Yeah. I just thought he was really, really solid next to Van Dijk, and you think he hasn't played for so long, and that was kind of the, not excuse we made for Gomez, but kind of reason we gave behind Gomez's performance not being so great, the fact that him and Van Dijk haven't been playing together, but Lovren came in and was absolutely spot on, wasn't he? So yeah, I was really impressed with him, and really happy actually to see him do so well.
He did the things that Lovren's good at.
Yeah.
Basically clearing, reading the game, intercepting, just getting rid, playing simple passes, and just getting in the way sometimes. And he avoided the stuff that he's not so good at, which is diving in. Yeah. There was a few times when Leicester had the ball just on the edge of the area, just inside, and you thought, oh no, don't dive in. And he managed to resist that temptation, which is something that he's not always been able to do. But he just managed to do all the things that he's good at, which is why he had a good game.
Is he just a man of extremes? That some people, when Dejan Lovren's in the team, get very upset. They shout about it. They're not very happy. Is it just a case of he's just that sort of player who elicits those extreme emotions.
Yeah, but I think sometimes opinions get formed and then people just so reluctant to waver from them, aren't they? I mean, for me, Lovren was at times a calamity, and you could pick up 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 examples of that from maybe 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But he's been excellent for pretty much around the time Virgil van Dijk was signed. The second half of that season, he was great alongside Van Dijk. Was Liverpool's best player in the Champions League final. Was again excellent for Croatia in the World Cup. Went all the way to the final with them, and hasn't really put too much of a foot wrong. He's been in and out of the team, hasn't he? He had a 3 or 4 month layoff when he got injured at Wolves, and hasn't always been first choice. But for a good while now, I think his form has been steady to good. So fair play to him coming in the other day, because I thought he was excellent.
He's also a good member of the squad, isn't he? The other players seem to like him. And he said, and I've said this before a few times, when Liverpool beat Barcelona and he was jumping up and down, he was one of the first ones to celebrate, wasn't he, when the goal went in, the 4th one. And LFC TV asked him afterwards and says, does it feel a bit different? Because obviously you've not been playing. He says, well, no. He says, last year I was playing and all the boys on the touchline, they were cheering us on. So this year it's my turn to do that. That kind of underlines the squad, that they've got the mentality. But has he posed a question? Has he now got above Gomez in the pecking order? Interesting one, really.
Interesting one.
I mean, Gomez was. I thought he was good against MK Dons, but wasn't so great. I think it was a massive call by Klopp to bring Lovren in for what was an important game, and it was justified. It's another right call that he's made, the manager. But does it now mean that, for the short term at least, long term he obviously is not, but for the short term, is Lovren now ahead of Gomez?
Difficult question to answer.
Yeah, well, would you like to answer it, please?
No. Yeah, I think in the short term he is.
Fair enough.
I think he played very well, and I think he's experienced, and Gomez perhaps just needs a few different games to try and get him back in the rhythm. That Carabao Cup game against Arsenal will be a decent test for him.
And it also underlines that if a player doesn't play well, Liverpool now have strength and depth that Klopp can make the decision, right, I'm going to take you out and you come in. Same thing happened with Henderson.
Definitely. All right, well, after the international break, it's Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, after losing 1-0 at Newcastle, said that's the perfect game for United. In many ways, I know what Doyley's going to say, so I'll come to you first, Connor. In many ways, it probably is for them, isn't it? It's probably the type of game that...
There's going to be no game at Old Trafford this season they are more up for than Liverpool. So in that respect, it absolutely is, because he doesn't really need to give his players that rousing team talk, because the occasion and the game and the atmosphere will do that for them. So I kind of can see where he's coming from, but then Liverpool must be looking at this in a similar vein, and there's no better time to go to Old Trafford and play Man United right now. I think they're probably going to be favourites at Old Trafford for the first time for as long as I can probably remember, really. So it's an interesting game, but I don't think in terms of how the game will play out that it'll be the perfect game for United. I think Liverpool are just in a far superior position. Is it
similar to 2014 when they went there? Moyes was sort of beleaguered and struggling. Liverpool went and won 3-0. And it was the right way of performing, wasn't it, at Old Trafford when I think they were the favourites that day. But United were well up for sort of putting a nail in Liverpool's title coffin that day. So they'll be up for ending this run, won't they? And Liverpool will have to be very good there to get something.
I think without wishing to give you a politician's answer, I think the better comparison is the last time they went to Old Trafford, which was in March. Yeah, March. Mm-hmm. United then just went, right, we don't want to lose.
Could have approached that game differently, I thought.
Yeah, they just went, right. Liverpool didn't want to get beaten. United went, well, we don't want to lose. I know there was the injuries in the first half, this, that and the other. And it kind of became a little bit of a stalemate, 0-0. Not a lot happened. But I think this time United cannot go into this game and think, right, we're just going to make sure we don't get beat. There's no way the crowd will allow that to happen. It could easily happen that Solskjaer's gone by the time that comes around. I don't think so personally, but it could happen. But even if it doesn't, he'll know that they can't go into that game and go, right, we're just going to keep it tight. We're going to, play for, not really commit too many men forward, this, that and the other. The crowd will be they'll be desperate for them to get one over Liverpool. They're only going to do that by attacking them. And that's exactly what Liverpool would want, because then it plays to their strengths. Whereas in March, United Liverpool were off the game, but United just dogged it out and were quite happy for a 0-0. Would Liverpool be happy with a 0-0? Overall, I would imagine, because Klopp always says, Klopp says,
he said a point away against the big
and
six.
he also said a point against Leicester wouldn't have been a catastrophe. They're a good team. I know he may have just been saying that just because that nearly happened. and the fact that the point last year might have actually been a bit of a catastrophe because it cost them the league, you could argue. But I think United, they can't afford to just play for a 0-0 or a narrow defeat or something like that. They'll have to go for it, and that could play into Liverpool's hands. So I think that'd be the better comparison than 2014, which I can't remember. What were United doing at that time? They weren't as bad as they are now. No. I'm pretty sure they were in the Champions League quarterfinals, weren't they? Because they'd beaten Olympiacos.
They were struggling badly in the league, and it was a chance for Liverpool to. Well, United were up for it. They wanted to end Liverpool's run, and it was a chance for Liverpool to sort of put some nails in Moyes' coffin.
It was a lot near the end of the season, though, wasn't it? As well,
it was
so
in March.
The timing of it was different as well.
Yeah,
the timing of it was different. So I think
last season was in March as well.
Yeah, but it was United was still trying to get to grips with Solskjaer. Or sorry, the other way around. I think has he not long just been. When did they play? I can't remember. When did they play?
Well, it was the last time Liverpool didn't win the Premier League. It was the first week of March. I think
that was Goodison, wasn't it?
When did they beat PSG?
A week later.
When did they beat PSG?
It was around then. Yeah.
So it was a slightly different United than the one they are now.
Yeah, slightly better United than the one they are now.
What I'd say is, it's the worst. By far and away, it's the worst Manchester United team I've ever known. Worst squad. Quality isn't there. Manager isn't a top class manager. Absolutely nothing's gone right for them, and it's not even like you say they're struggling, and you look back to the team of '99 and all the teams they had in the '90s. Compared to them, obviously light years behind, but even compared to under Mourinho 2 or 3 years ago, they're still miles behind. Mourinho somehow finished second with a squad that isn't too dissimilar.
Was it his greatest
He
ever?
did,
and he's probably, he might be being a bit facetious there, but he's got half a point, hasn't he, when he says something like that. Don't know why they got rid of Lukaku and or Sanchez, even though neither of them were particularly flying, but now they've got seemingly no strikers other than Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial. Pogba turns up when he can be bothered, seemingly. Just
is that the problem, though? Is that the problem that players like that, he turns up when he can be bothered? They might be bothered against Liverpool.
He will be bothered against Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think they'll all be up for it.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to muster some sort of responsibility. Liverpool across the pitch are superior in every department, and Liverpool can't think of going to I know it's Old Trafford and it's Manchester United, but they can't be going to this game thinking a point's going to be good enough because they're struggling, and Liverpool really need to make a statement, I think, and make it to 18 successive wins at Old Trafford and just continue this title charge.
Okay, before we go, we'll talk quickly about Trent Alexander-Arnold, that turns 21 today. We'll start by just singing happy birthday to Trent.
No, we will not.
We always want to
you feel free to. You set the tone. You give us
Thank you, Connor. You're very welcome.
You may leave now.
Yeah. Trent Alexander-Arnold is 21 today. That is absolutely nuts. He has achieved a hell of a lot in a short space of time. He made his debut at Old Trafford, of course, his full debut. Connor, what a player.
You forget, don't you? You forget that he's only 21. We forget when we talk about when he has these games where he's maybe not quite at the dizzying heights of the world's best right back. And you're like, he's actually only 20, now 21 years old. It's absolutely crazy to think what he's achieved, going to 2 Champions League finals, winning 1. What he's done is sensational. He's a regular England first team. He's just, he is up there with one of the best right backs in the world right now. I can't really name too many better. I know that FIFA Pro list was a bit bewildering, but it's just amazing, and you've got so many years ahead of him, and you just hope that he stays at Liverpool for all that time.
The best judge of other players the best judge of good players is other good players, and you only have to watch matches today. I know we mentioned them before, but Gary Lineker, whenever Trent does anything, he absolutely loves him. He loves him. So that tells you how good a player he is. I mean, I think I have written something today where at 21 he's made more appearances than Gerrard and Carragher. Yeah. I know he always had that through the teens when he stopped being a teenager, but he still had more because he's still in the team and he's an important part of this. Yeah, he didn't play particularly well. There was a bit of a concern over his form over the summer, but I just because Connor says, you forget that he's that young, and that's always going to happen. It's because he's set such high standards at such a young age, and he's been learning so quickly that I thought he had a really good game on Saturday, but defensively as well. Yeah. He got in, he did the same. What was the home game before that? Not Salzburg, the one before that.
Oh,
Newcastle. He made a few. Well, I get at Chelsea, for example. I know he scored the goal, but he did a few good clearances by getting in, cutting in from right back. Yeah, exactly. So that's what he's obviously got a load of areas where he could improve, but going forward, the way he hits the ball, where he crosses it, where he takes the free kicks. He's only going to get better, and that's the worrying thing for all the other teams.
That goal against Chelsea was properly Gerrard-esque, wasn't it? The way he strikes the ball was crazy.
I can't remember. I don't think I can remember a single game he's had where he's had an absolute stinker. A game where you think he's from start to finish, he's really struggled. There's the odd time when people get in behind him, but Liverpool play such an attacking style that's going to happen.
That's just football, isn't it?
And for me, I just think he technically he's absolutely outstanding, and defensively, I think he's better than I think he gets credit for.
Yeah. I think he's the physical embodiment of what academy coaches work towards for so long. They pick these lads up when they're 8 and 9, and he's a homegrown lad. He's worked his way right through the ranks to become a first team start and win the Champions League with his boyhood club at 21. It's just a remarkable story. He's the best player coming out of the academy since Steven Gerrard for me. As Doyle mentions there, he's played more games than Carragher and Gerrard at the same age. Both of them played over 700 games for Liverpool. Can he rival Ian Callaghan?
That's a tough one.
I don't know how many appearances he had off the top of my head, but no, Gerrard had 710 and Carragher was 737. So he'll get more than them, probably, if he stays injury free and stays with the club. And I don't see a reason why he won't stay with the club. It's the one he supported growing up. Liverpool are arguably the best team in the world right now, so where'd you go other than that? I absolutely love him. What a player.
I think anyone who's met him as well, he's a nice lad, down to earth, grounded.
He did an interview in May 2017, I think it was in the Telegraph with Chris Bascom, formerly of this parish, and he'd only played 12 games at the time, and he came out and says, I won't be satisfied at Liverpool until I'm captain. And I think I'm going to go out say 100% he is the next Liverpool captain after Jordan Henderson decides, I don't want to do this anymore, or it gets taken off him. I think Trent and he will be there for as long as he wants to be.
Yeah,
and he might even be right back. He could go into centre mid.
Well, quickly before we finish off, do you think that does that need to happen? Can he not just be the world's best right back?
He's 21. Yeah. He can do whatever he wants. He could probably play right wing if he wants a bit later.
He probably could, but
centre back.
I'm with you.
Can he not just be the world's best right back?
Of course he can.
Why
but then it's up to him.
We shouldn't
it's up to him what he wants to do.
It's not really up to him, is it? It's up to his managers. But we shouldn't really force like this idea that he has to go should go and play.
I never said that he has to. He says I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I think he will do eventually.
I wouldn't massively be surprised, but I would like to just see him be the world's best right back.
I don't see why you have to be a centre mid. He can just become the world's best right back, and his game is so suited to being on that right flank where he can ping his crosses and his passes in to perfection. So putting him in midfield is a completely different game, isn't it? You've got to develop and learn, and he hasn't played that at that level. He hasn't played centre mid at the top level, has he? And that'd take some.
He had one game at Chelsea.
And it wasn't
particularly
his best
great.
Day. So for me, just keep him at right back. Why not?
I'm not advocating them to move him now. I'm just saying is that he claims well, when he's the captain of centre mid, I'll come back and say
right. Before we wrap it up, very quickly, Connor, best Trent moment at Liverpool so far.
I guess it's not hard, is it? I was going to say it's not hard.
Everyone knows what's coming to mind
exactly.
straight away.
Corner taken quickly. Yeah, I know. Well, everyone's going to go for it though, aren't they?
Yeah, so it is okay to say that.
It's your favourite moment.
Barcelona goal, obviously.
Doyle.
Probably freak. No. That, and if you weren't going to choose that one, no, his free kick at Hoffenheim was great, wasn't it? Yeah. That was a good way to announce himself. His debut against Man United, where he didn't have any real issues. I mean, the free kick against Chelsea you've just mentioned then. What
about one just for people who've worked in this office, which was Andy Kelly, a couple of minutes behind on the stream, watching Trent on the 23s getting nearly score against Everton. And
just Andy Kelly full stop with Trent.
Trent at the top of his voice. It was very early on in Trent's career, but still my favourite.
He was a massive advocate though, wasn't he? And he was right.
Andy Kelly
AK was right.
Spotted Trent.
Andy Kelly
before anyone else.
Andy Kelly, who's 47, therefore we can use AK-47.
AK-47.
What I'll say as well is on my first game as in my role now, in the mix zone, no one had stopped, and we didn't have anyone, did we, Connor? We were there,
that's true actually.
And he walked past and I said, Trent, can we have 2 minutes? And he gives it, didn't he?
Yeah, the one player, he just stopped and chatted to us for a while, didn't he, to be fair, and he was really decent, really forthcoming with his information. It was spot on and just massively showed his character.
Absolute credit to the city, I think.
Great.
That's why he's got a mural.
Yeah, that is why he's got a mural. We'll leave it there. Happy birthday, Trent, whatever you're doing. I'm sure he won't be going out and drinking. He'll be
listening to the Blood Red podcast, I imagine.
And he'll be quite
podcast,
happy with the rendition of Happy Birthday from Connor Dunn, which we can play out for us.
Play out now as we fade to black. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Happy birthday to you.
Didn't actually think you were going to do that.
Hooray. That's great. All right, see you on Friday.